"I liked your book," he said, as we shook hands across the table. "Well, thanks," I answered guardedly, as I slid onto the bench seat opposite him and sat down. It was around 3 months since it had come out, and so it was just coming up to about a year since his election. "You mean the one that just about stopped short of saying that you killed him?" I asked. "Or that you at least had him killed?" "Yes," he nodded with a smile on his wolfish face. "I particularly liked that part." Obviously, given the history and who he was, I'd been very wary when I'd taken his call last week at the paper, asking me to meet up with him. No, wary was the wrong thing to say. Scared shitless would be more like it. So I had my work cut out to persuade myself that it would be safe to go. But eventually, and possibly foolishly, I'd managed to convince my inner coward. That he wanted us to get together somewhere public was some reassurance. He'd also have to assume that I'd probably take some elementary safety precautions. I'd tell someone who I was meeting, and where, so that they could call the cops if I didn't get back at a reasonable time. I might even, if I'd wanted to, have arranged for someone to come along to keep a watchful eye on me, and raise the alarm if it looked as though things were getting ugly. Even so, it had taken me quite a while to screw up my nerves to actually come. After all, fear of legal consequences wasn't something that ranked very highly in his world, and the trouble with all the elementary safety precautions I could take was that they still wouldn't mean I was safe. I knew, absolutely and without question, that these were people who wouldn't think twice about killing me, whatever the situation, if that's what they decided they wanted to do. It might only take a moment to take me out, and a moment might be too quick for anyone to intervene, while afterwards they would have all the time in the world to persuade witnesses that they might not actually remember what had happened. So I knew I was taking a risk, perhaps even sticking my life on the line, but in the end I'd decided I'd go. The urge to know was too strong, and we'd agreed to meet at a motorway services, so it was about as public a place as I was going to get. Although, as I was on my way, I suddenly regretted my choice, as I realised that Heathrow might have been even better. The knowledge that armed police would be expected to be on patrol in the terminals might have given me even more comfort. It was a summer Saturday afternoon. The road was busy with holiday traffic, and the car park was full as I pulled in and parked up. Families were milling around open cars, feeding kids ice creams, and camped out eating sandwiches and slurping cokes at the wooden trestle tables on the grass beside the main block, to the background noise of traffic roaring by. Welcome to staycation land, I thought, as I headed inside, the automatic doors swishing open in front of me, as two large women in low-cut tops that clashed with their orange-glow skin came out past me, sucking at straws from styrofoam cups, brown paper burger and chips bags grasped in their other hands. I walked through to the eating-in area, my eyes adjusting quickly to the relative dimness of the cool interior from the bright glare of outside. As the doors hissed shut for a moment behind me, the noise of traffic faded away, to be overtaken by the noise of people echoing against the concrete cave as children ran about, and a murmuring susurrus of the noise of people talking and eating competed with the piped muzak and clattering cutlery. Well, here goes, I thought, steeling my nerves. He was easy to spot. The restaurant area was crowded as I walked in, the noise level reaching a pitch, and all the tables filled, except for across by the window, on the far side, where a series of booths lined the wall. The bikers were where you would expect to find them, looking out into the room, backs to the wall, always watching, always wary. He was sat in the middle of the row, a coffee in front of him at the otherwise empty table. The neighbouring booths on either side of him were each also occupied by a single, full-patched brethren with a drink in front of them. And despite the jam-packed tables elsewhere, obviously no one had asked them to move, or had even decided that they wanted to sit in the adjoining booth. He'd seen me as I arrived, and gave me a quick nod of acknowledgement as I walked across to him, while I could feel eyes following me from across the room as people realised I was approaching his table. Was this what it was like, I wondered? For them, I mean. To always be on show, to always be the centre of surreptitious attention wherever you went. He gestured for me to sit opposite him, and I did. We paused while he asked me what I wanted, and one of the guys went off to get it, joining the queue to pay like any other lorry. He wasn't in much of a rush, and I guess he was safe enough that no one else was going to nick his table while he was gone. Wibble looked much like I'd remembered him from the few times we'd met. The guy's lids were always the bikers' Harleys, parked up outside the entrance, and were being guarded as always by a striker serving his time. Wibble was wearing his summer riding gear, a padded check work shirt, which was now open to reveal the black and red hooped t-shirt underneath, with part of the Brethren logo showing just above the left breast. His sleeves were rolled back up to his elbows, and over the top of his shirt was his black leather biker's vest, which I knew would have his colours on the back. He looked a bit older than when I had met him before, but then it was what, 4 or 5 years ago now? His sharp-featured face was a bit more lined than I remembered. His shoulder-length mass of wild hair and short Cavalier-style beard was showing grey amongst the black, but he still looked wiry, whip-hard, and very, very dangerous. But then, when you looked at the front of his cut, when you took in the grinning SS-style skull and crossbones Totenkopf flash on his left breast that was his bonesman's tab, and the simple red and black embroidered Freeman and President flashes ranked above it, then that would have told you he was a menace, in every sense of the word, and needed to be treated as such, whatever he looked like. There was a plain diamond-shaped black and red patch on the opposite side of his cut. It was a new tab, one I'd not seen before, for obvious reasons. It simply read, "In memory, damage, R.I.P." and underneath, LLH and R. So why the hell I went and blurted out what I said next, I'll never work out. Did I have some kind of death wish? "Well," I said, "now I'm here, do you mind if I ask you a question?" "Nah, feel free, mate," he said, lounging back. "What do you want to know?" "All right then," I said, in an in-for-a-penny, in-for-a-pound moment of madness. "Can I ask, did you kill him?"